You know, there's been so much speculation around Social Security lately, people have been waiting to hear whether or not there would be any kind of increase that actually makes a difference. And finally, it looks like the big news has landed. A $650 increase has just been approved for beneficiaries. That's not a rumor, it's official.
And the part that really made headlines is that Donald Trump himself stepped in to make it official. That's not something you see every day, and honestly, it gives a lot of people a sense of certainty that this isn't just another empty promise. For retirees, for folks on SSI and SSDI, this is a big deal.
Exactly. When you think about the people who rely on Social Security, every dollar counts. We're talking about seniors trying to stretch their checks just to cover groceries, rent, medications, utilities, you name it. For years, cost of living adjustments have been pretty small, and most of the time they get eaten up by rising Medicare premiums or inflation. But 650s? That's noticeable.
Right, and here's what stands out. This isn't just about numbers on paper, it's about real people's lives. Imagine a widow living on survivor benefits who has to make the painful choice between paying rent and buying medication. For her, that $650 could mean stability. Or think about a disabled veteran on SSDI. This increase could cover transportation to medical appointments or the equipment they need for daily life.
And the timing is so important. Prices are still high, inflation may not be at its peak anymore, but it's definitely not back to normal. Seniors and disabled individuals have been squeezed for so long. This increase comes at a time when households are under immense pressure. It's not just relief, it's a lifeline.
Absolutely, and Trump making it official also shifts the political landscape. It signals that Social Security is going to be a central issue again, not just a background talking point. Whether people agree with him or not, when a former president steps in and says, "This is happening," it makes beneficiaries feel like they finally have some attention at the top.
And it creates pressure on other policymakers, too. Once something this bold is announced, it's hard for Washington to ignore. Seniors and beneficiaries are paying close attention now. They're watching to see who supports them and who doesn't.
But of course, there's another side to the story. Some critics say that while $650 is helpful, it's still just scratching the surface. Healthcare costs alone can eat up an entire Social Security check. Rent and utilities keep climbing. So, while this increase is meaningful, the question is it enough?
And that's where this moment becomes important. Because if $650 can be approved now, it sets a precedent. It shows that change is possible, that the system can adapt when the pressure is strong enough. And that could open the door to even bigger reforms in the future.
For now, though, people want to know the practical details. When is this increase going to hit their accounts? Who exactly qualifies? And what does it mean for their monthly checks moving forward?
That's right, and that's exactly what we're going to break down. Let's shift gears now and take a deeper dive into what this increase really means, how it works, and what beneficiaries can expect in the months ahead. Millions of Americans who depend on Social Security have been searching for some light at the end of the tunnel, and now the big news has finally arrived. A $650 increase in benefits has been approved, and former President Donald Trump has stepped forward to make it official. For retirees, disabled individuals, and families relying on SSI and SSDI, this update is not just another minor adjustment. It is being celebrated as a major lifeline in times when the cost of living feels unbearable. The hook here is clear. This change will directly impact the lives of millions, and people want to know exactly what it means, when it will arrive, and how it will shape their financial future. The story begins with the harsh reality that seniors and disabled Americans have been enduring. Month after month, prices keep climbing. Food is more expensive, utilities are higher, rent and mortgages are more demanding, and healthcare costs remain a constant burden. Social Security checks, while critical, often haven't been enough to cover these growing expenses. That's why this announcement feels different. The figure of $650 is not abstract. It represents a concrete number that families can plan around, a sum that could mean groceries on the table, prescriptions filled on time, or bills paid without fear of falling behind. When people hear that Trump himself has spoken on this increase, they view it not only as financial relief, but also as confirmation that the issue of Social Security is finally being treated with the urgency it deserves. For many seniors, even small increases in their monthly checks make a noticeable difference. Historically, Social Security beneficiaries have received cost of living adjustments, COLAs, that amount to just a few dollars each month, sometimes swallowed up immediately by rising Medicare premiums or everyday expenses. This new $650 increase, however, changes the equation in a meaningful way. While it is based on projections tied to inflation and annual calculations, the message is simple. Relief is on the way, and it's larger than most people expected. In fact, analysts explain that the 2026 COLA projection of 2.7% translates to about $650 more annually for the average retiree, compared to just under $50 per month increases seen in previous years. It may not be a one-time cash payout, but it still represents a significant step forward compared to the incremental raises of the past. The timing of this news couldn't be more critical. Seniors are entering another year where inflation, though cooling slightly, continues to erode the value of every dollar. Housing markets remain tight, energy costs are unpredictable, and medical bills keep piling up. Against this backdrop, the approval of a $650 increase feels like more than just routine policy. It feels like recognition of the struggles millions face daily. It acknowledges that the system, while not perfect, can still respond to real needs when pressure builds and leaders take action. Trump's endorsement of this increase amplifies its significance, showing that Social Security is no longer a background issue but one that sits at the center of political and economic debates. This announcement has sparked widespread conversations about what comes next. Beneficiaries are asking important questions. Who exactly qualifies for the increase? Will it apply to everyone on SSI, SSDI, and retirement benefits? When will the money actually start appearing in their accounts? The early details suggest that nearly all current beneficiaries will see the increase reflected in their payments. For those on SSDI, this may mean extra funds to cover medical equipment, transportation, or care expenses. For SSI recipients, often among the lowest-income Americans, it can provide breathing room to handle rent, food, or unexpected costs. For retirees, the increase can ease the constant stress of budgeting down to the penny. Each group feels the impact in its own way, but the overall theme is the same. The increase provides both financial and emotional relief. The role of politics in this cannot be ignored. Trump stepping in to make it official is being read as a signal of how future leadership might handle Social Security. For years, seniors worried about potential cuts or reforms that might shrink benefits. Now, with this bold statement and approval of a larger-than-expected increase, there is renewed confidence among beneficiaries. Of course, critics argue that more must be done, pointing out that even with the $650 boost, millions still live close to the poverty line. Advocates say the fight doesn't end here. This increase must be the beginning of a broader expansion of benefits, not just a one-off adjustment tied to inflation. The $650 increase also raises questions about the long-term sustainability of Social Security. Economists have long warned about funding challenges facing the program in the coming decades. But supporters of this boost argue that it's both necessary and overdue. The cost of ignoring beneficiaries' needs is simply too high. Poverty among seniors would rise, healthcare outcomes would worsen, and the burden on other assistance programs would grow heavier. By increasing benefits now, policymakers are sending a message that the system must adapt and evolve, rather than stagnate. Trump's public support may push others in Washington to follow suit, creating momentum for more substantial reforms in the future. Real-life stories highlight just how impactful this increase will be. Consider a widow living solely on survivor benefits who has been struggling to keep up with rising rent. For her, the additional $650 spread across the year could mean avoiding eviction. A disabled veteran receiving SSDI could use the extra funds to afford transportation to medical appointments or purchase equipment that improves daily life. A retired couple balancing the costs of medication and groceries can now breathe a little easier, knowing they won't have to choose between the two. These are not abstract policy discussions. They are the lived realities of millions of Americans who rely on Social Security as their lifeline. It is also important to recognize that this increase comes after years of advocacy. Organizations representing seniors and disabled Americans have fought tirelessly for more accurate COLA calculations, arguing that the current formula doesn't reflect the true costs faced by older adults, especially in healthcare. While the $650 increase is tied to inflation measures, it validates the work of those advocates and gives hope that their efforts can continue to drive meaningful change. It shows that persistence works and that when beneficiaries' voices are loud enough, Washington listens. Looking forward, the critical question is whether this $650 increase is a stepping stone or an isolated event. If it sets a precedent, future COLAs could be more generous, or the formula itself could be reformed to better protect vulnerable populations. If it remains a one-off highlight, beneficiaries may once again find themselves struggling in the years to come. Either way, this moment matters because it proves that Social Security can still deliver meaningful support. It also reminds millions of beneficiaries that their financial stability is not forgotten, even in an era of political division and economic uncertainty. For now, what matters most to beneficiaries is when they will see the money. According to the Social Security Administration's schedule, the increase will be reflected in upcoming payments, meaning seniors and disabled Americans won't have to wait long to feel its impact. Many are already adjusting their budgets, planning purchases, and rearranging priorities around the expectation of this boost. This planning highlights an often overlooked aspect of Social Security. It's not just a check, it's the foundation of financial security for tens of millions. Any change to it, large or small, has ripple effects that shape lives in profound ways. The symbolism of this increase cannot be overstated. For too long, Social Security changes have been framed as technical adjustments buried in government reports. This time, the message is loud and clear. A $650 increase is coming, and it's significant. By tying it to a recognizable figure like Trump, the announcement has gained both visibility and credibility, ensuring that every beneficiary knows about it. This visibility matters because it builds trust and reassures people that their benefits are secure. It also energizes voters, especially seniors, who now see Social Security as a front and center issue in national debates. As we close this chapter, one thing is undeniable. Social Security beneficiaries are entering a new era of attention and advocacy. The $650 increase is not just about dollars, it is about dignity, security, and hope. It reflects recognition of the challenges facing seniors and disabled Americans, and it signals that their needs are finally climbing higher on the national agenda. Whether this momentum continues will depend on the choices of policymakers, the strength of advocacy groups, and the engagement of beneficiaries themselves. But for now, the message is simple and powerful. Relief is here, and it matters. Millions will soon see the difference in their checks and, with it, a renewed sense that their future can be a little more secure.